All right, folks, we're going to move right along. Let's bring in South Dakota Senator Mr. Mike Rounds, who was a member of the Senate Banking Committee and the Armed Services Committee. Senator Rounds, thank you, sir. I just want to play for you right at the top. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he and I talked last night. Here's what he had to say about Jay Powell staying on as a member of the Federal Reserve Board. And we'll get your take in a minute, sir. Here comes the tape.
I will say it's highly unusual what former chair, soon-to-be former Chair Powell did. This is a violation of all Federal Reserve norms. I think it is an insult to Kevin Warsh, Mickey Bowman, and Chris Waller to think that these other Republican nominees do not care about the institution of the Fed, and that he alone can maintain the integrity of the Fed.
Yeah, so there's Treasury man teeing off on Powell. I myself thought it was a rather petulant move. All right, he's not a martyr. But Senator Rounds, here's the other thing. By staying on the board, if he stays on for 2 more years, he is depriving President Trump of a 7th appointment. So it would be 4-3 if he left. Now it's going to be 4-3 against. All right, that's really unfortunate. Warsh would have taken his spot, and that would have, and that would have opened up the Myron spot for a Trump appointee. I'm sure you know this arithmetic as well as anybody. I'm just saying, I think Powell knows this full well, because Powell's no friend to Trump or the Trump policy or the Trump administration. He's just basically denying Mr. Trump's due on the Fed. It could have been 4-3. It won't be now for maybe 2 years. I think that's crazy.
Well, let me first of all say thanks for the opportunity to visit with you. And I really enjoyed Mark Andreessen and his comments earlier on the American economy. Look, the Fed is there. We're going to have a new chairman. And I honestly think that Chairman Powell, while he may take his position there shortly, I really think once he feels comfortable that he's not going to be prosecuted at the federal level, I think he'll step away. I really believe that. And I understand the concern that he has. And I don't think there's any love lost between the president and the chairman. I think everybody knows that. So I think that one will play itself out okay. In the meantime, we're welcoming Kevin Warsh on. I think he's going to do a great job as the new chairman. And once again, I think the president made a very wise choice. If you will note, though, today, for the first time ever, Kevin Warsh was approved in the Senate Banking Committee on a party line vote. And he deserved to have a bipartisan vote. That speaks not so much about any problems with the nominee, but it says a lot about our Democrat Party at this time and the challenge they have and how tough it is for them to, even on a bipartisan basis on the new Fed chair, who they all recognize as being very capable, to see them not support this nominee. I was not surprised, but I was disappointed.
You have a good do on the floor. You think he'll do any better on the floor of the Senate?
Time will tell, but we're prepared for it. Look, we're going to get him in place. This is the right thing to do at this stage of the game. And you're right. Look, right now in our economy and so forth, the American public are supporting the president in the war that we're in right now with Iran, and for good reason. These guys have been a real royal pain for the entire world. They've been a sponsor of terrorism like very few other countries. They were going after a nuclear weapon. We've delayed that. We've slowed it down. But they haven't stopped wishing for it. And so everything that we can do right now to provide the president with support, that'd be great. But I got to share with you one concern I've got, Larry, and that is we can't walk away from the fact that gas prices in the United States are high. And my farmers, ranchers out there, they use a lot of diesel as well. But I'm just suggesting one thing. These guys love the president. They really do support him. But it would really help right now, and it wouldn't cost anything, to start with a nationwide approach to allow E15 to be sold nationwide. It would bring down the price of gas for consumers, and I think it would be a marvelous message to these farmers who are really on the tip of the spear in a lot of the issues surrounding the negotiations with Xi Jinping and others. I know he's going to China, and I think when he goes and sees Xi Jinping, I think one of the things he could do there is really put pressure on the premier to literally start buying American soybeans again. Once again, that would help take some of the pressure, the economic pressure, off of these farmers and ranchers who really do support the president wholeheartedly.
Well, I think selling the soybeans is terrific. I mean, China reneged. We cut that deal when I was running the NEC, you know, with Lighthizer and Mnuchin and Navarro and so forth. We cut the deal. China they didn't make the sale, or let me say they didn't make the purchase, and they should, and hopefully the president can sell that. If you want to go on, you know, if you can get the ethanol support, again, I'm very familiar with that issue. If you can get the ethanol support center, fine. I mean, anything to help the farmers, I understand that. It's a little more controversial than soybeans, but that's up to you. And I know John Thune is behind it, and I know Chuck Grassley's behind it.
Absolutely.
I've been through all those discussions, a.k.a. wars. Senator Rounds, let me ask you one thing before we go, though, and we appreciate your coming back on the show very much. I am disturbed. I'm very critical of Democrats who are pushing the war powers some kind of resolution to stop and pull us out of, completely pull our troops out of any harm's way whatsoever. And we're not on the ground, but they're pushing a war powers resolution, direct the president to remove American forces from any Iranian hostilities. I mean, that could be the entire Middle East theater. We have huge bases going on there. And those countries, you know, those Sunni Arab Gulf state countries, they want us there, for heaven's sake. I mean, I just think here we are, virtually at the end of wiping out this gruesome regime, and the Democrats want a war powers resolution to cut and run. Makes insanity. It's insanity, Senator Rounds.
It is, and look, it's more designed as a delay tactic to slow things down in the Senate. These particular motions, they do take a priority in the Senate under our rules. We've done this over 8 times already. The result is the same each time around, and they understand that. They're doing this because it delays it, it takes up time in the Senate, and if they could ever get on one for debate, it could take up literally a half a week. So that's their purpose on it, and in the meantime, they don't allow us to get onto the important work that the American people want us to do. And then finally, look, the American people are behind the president, and I'll just tell you, I'm on the Intel Committee, I'm in the Armed Services Committee. The Iranians were after a nuclear weapon. They weren't that far away. And can you imagine a nuclear-armed Iran making threats against all of their neighbors? And they were preparing an intercontinental ballistic missile. I think we've already shown they could show 2,400 miles that they shot one down against Diego Garcia. Think about just exactly how much damage they could do and the threat they could make for throughout the Middle East. And they were proving it. So the president made the right move at the right time, and we should be finishing this mission. And that means support from the American people to get this job done.
Yes, absolutely terrific stuff. Terrific stuff, Senator. And the vote today was 50-47, so it lost. The resolution lost. Please tell my good friend, and I mean this sincerely, please tell my good friend Susan Collins, who's terrific, she's going to win in Maine by backing the president. She doesn't have to vote on the other side. Please let her know. I've invited her. I've known her for years, and I think the world of her. Stay with the president. I do too. Stay with the president.
I do too.
I know you do. She's a very popular woman. She's a very smart woman, but she doesn't have to go across the aisle on this. Stay with the president another month or so. That's what you're saying, Mr. Rounds, and you're right.
Absolutely. Look, the president's moving in the right direction. I respect Senator Collins, and I respect the fact that she's doing her best to represent the people of Maine. If we don't have Susan Collins there in Maine, we'll have a Democrat, and that would not be an acceptable outcome.
All right, we'll leave it there. Senator Mike Rounds, thank you. It's great to visit with you, sir. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.